couldn't get over that.
Yeah,
It's the first Dorn I'd ever met. So
right.
Well, welcome everybody. I apologize for the technical difficulties. What a pain in the neck between LinkedIn's events. If anybody's got any skinny on how this stuff works, I'd love to talk with them offline. So I had essentially two different links show up for this calendar, event. So one wasn't working, including the speaker. Chris couldn't get in. Anyways, we're going to have to just roll with it. I tried to literally message out the new code to everybody. Some folks may join us here in a little bit, but for starters, I wanted to thank the regular cohort for the AlphaEquity community that meets at this time on Thursdays for sharing their time with a slightly broader group. So some of you are coming specifically for this presentation by TribalVision. So welcome everybody. This is one presentation in a series of CEO Insights, and I'm just going to put in the group chat a way to get a hold of me. So for upcoming events, we're going to do another one on Discover Your Pathway to Scalability, which is really our foundation for AlphaEquity. It's about measuring how scalable your business is, basically taking your business model, mapping it up against a database that's been active since 2012 that correlates, the things that acquirers, investors are looking for, what they're willing to pay a premium for, and how your business sort of compares on that scale. And that's our starting point for working with CEOs to kind of look for opportunities for making their businesses more robust over time, and also providing, a community of support. By and large, the number one challenge reported by CEOs of lower middle market, which is, our focus, companies that are anywhere from $2 to $50 million, the CEO feels lonely at the top. And so the AlphaEquity community is really designed to address that and to bring in some support layers and, a sounding board that can help CEOs, crack the code on how to scale their business, take it to the next level, and then also to arm them with sort of the M&A and investment banking acumen so that they can, build a business for acquisition. So with that, Chris, let me turn it over to you. If anybody wants to, I guess, be clued in on the next event or the next scalability pathway event, you can shoot me a note or jump right to a calendar invite if you want to, catch a few minutes to talk first. And with that, Chris, the way Chris gets brought into this, number one, what I love about him, as you can see in his background, his profile, here's an entrepreneur, that's built a business in the digital marketing space. But you can look back even to his education, where he, had a focus on entrepreneurial ventures and has since built a fantastic company. And then the second element that makes TribalVision very interesting is, they're already what I refer to as a referenceable resource within the community. In other words, some of the CEOs, members of the AlphaEquity community, have actually engaged with TribalVision, and have a partnership. They're using their services. So there's an opportunity to hear kind of firsthand, kind of where TribalVision fits into the landscape, what they've been able to do, so effectively. And conversely, if they're not the right fit for every digital marketing, deal out there, you can get that kind of feedback as well, directly from a member CEO. So with that, Chris, before I eat up too much of your time, take it away.
Great, perfect. Well, thanks for that setup, Kevin, and thanks for the opportunity to just talk marketing here a little bit to the group. So I really appreciate the invite. I have my colleague Rob Meyer on with me as well. Rob and I are typically the dynamic duo that are putting these types of presentations together. He has a unique experience at TribalVision, where for years he was actually in the seat, under the hood, right, deploying marketing campaigns, like, living it every day, not just talking about it. So, really, I think interesting perch from his perspective also with what he can share. So what we've put together today, again, I know we're running a little behind, so it's 12:15. We want to be really respectful of your time. So we'll make sure that by 1 o'clock, we'll do our best to make sure that we leave you be and have you continue on with Kevin after us. But what we've put together here is really two pieces of content. First piece is just helping you think through, especially in this post-COVID environment, or soon, hopefully, to be post-COVID. Who knows when Delta is going to leave us, but ultimately in this post-COVID environment, what business owners should be thinking about with their own marketing efforts, given this new reality. So the first half of what we're going to talk about, or probably the first 3/4 of what we're going to talk about, is hopefully practical nuggets for you to take away with you. And even if they're not all practical for you, even if you get 1 or 2, hopefully we've done our job here. And then the last probably 25% of what we're going to present is really about training grants that we've actually been able to put together with the state of through the state of Massachusetts, where a lot of business owners don't know about this, but there are express training grants available where up until, well, as of July 1st, like last month, they are now 100% reimbursable. So just know we'll be touching on that as well. I know it piqued Kevin's interest for the group when he heard about this, where we have 4 modules, marketing modules, where they are now 100% reimbursable. And we are actually doing work for our companies, not just training them, we're training and doing work. So that'll be the last 25%, because again, it's I think an opportunity for you to learn how to potentially get some free marketing help if you do want it. Are there any questions before we just dive in?
No.
Okay, all right, great. So with that, I'm going to get us started here, and just know that, you know, with again, this presentation agenda, we're going to talk really just for a slide about marketing in this post-COVID world. I'm going to share some stats with you. Then from there, we're going to be providing you again with some practical tips and takeaways, and not getting too deep in the weeds, but hopefully deep enough where it's practical. And then we'll get into these training grants, like I said, and open it up for Q&A if we have time, of course. Okay, so and you know what, before I start, I'm just curious, if you don't mind, just for 1 minute, maybe Dan, you can just mention, or you know, that you and your colleague there, do you have any marketing going on right now at your company? And you know, do you have a team? Do you have just yourself doing it? Can you just provide a little bit of background as to your marketing efforts?
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm Dan Wiswell, and this is my sales manager, Tim Cook. We are actually doing our own marketing in-house. We go out and search for website developing companies and video production companies. We were doing some of that in-house, but we just lost our young lady that was helping us with that just 2 days ago. So we're back out in the search for, you know, different resources.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and just know that separate from this presentation, we can just be a sounding board for you, right? We can point you in the right direction of maybe a network that we have that might be valuable for you as well.
Thanks.
So absolutely. And Bill, do you want to just maybe just give a brief background of your company and if there's any marketing taking place? That way I can just, when we talk about these tips, I'll have an understanding of how sophisticated your marketing is, or you know, not as sophisticated if there's no one working on it.
Hey, Chris, nice to meet you. Yes, thank you for reaching out here. So we are doing some marketing, always opportunities for improvement. We're kind of a lean and mean organization, so there's not a lot of resources financially and people-wise.
Sure.
So we're all wearing a bunch of different hats. So happy to hear what you guys have and see how you can be able to fit in and help us.
Yeah, that's perfect. One last question for both companies. Are you B2B or B2C? So are you selling into other businesses or into directly to a consumer?
We're B2B.
Great.
And same here, B2B.
Wonderful. Okay, that's great, because again, we've prepared this presentation for B2B, knowing we spoke to Kevin briefly about it. I just wanted to make sure we're not talking B2B, and both companies that are here are actually B2C. So that's music to our ears. So thank you. So with that, again, you can see We're first starting with high level macro, some stats here in this post-COVID economy. I mean, there's been a shift to digital marketing, of course, for a decade, but COVID has really fast forwarded, right, this digital first mindset, right? So there's so many companies that we've worked with where they were still going to trade shows and putting on events and doing in-person lunch and learns. Not to say that's never going to happen again. Of course it will. But COVID has really fast forwarded the mindset of companies to be thinking digitally and socially. So pretty interesting stat, I think, right? The 65% of organizations have fast forwarded their move to digital first customer interactions by 3 years. So what they were planning their footprint to be in 2024, they've actually are there now in 2021. They've been forced to do that because of COVID. So if you're thinking marketing again right now and what you should be doing, you should be thinking more and more about building that online presence and social presence, and not thinking as much as you were maybe in the past traditionally about what you need to be doing with, as I call it, shaking hands and kissing babies. There's been a 20% increase in social media ad spend since 2019. Advertising is now, it topped $43 billion last year in 2020. So again, social media is continuing to be dominant. I mean, look at Facebook, right? In terms of what's happening there with Facebook and Instagram, if you look at their market caps, they've exploded over the last few years. 70 to 80% of B2B decision makers say they prefer remote interaction or digital self-service at this point. So before COVID, this percentage was far lower. But now because of COVID, even a situation like this that we're in right now, right, where we're presenting remotely to you, before COVID, you might have looked at us with 4 eyes that we're going to be doing a Zoom presentation versus coming in and meeting with you in person. So preferences to this type of remote selling have certainly increased. And again, 1/3 of buyers are willing to make purchases valued at $50,000 to $500,000 using only remote human interaction. So now even larger deals are taking place remotely versus, like I said, through shaking hands. So again, it's not 2/3, it's 1/3, but the point is this shift to digital and social is here. And me personally, being in this long enough, I don't think it's ever going back. It's only going to continue to snowball. Have you experienced that with your own businesses? Since we just have a couple companies here, we can make this a little intimate to the two of you. Just curious, maybe Bill, if you don't mind just starting off, are you seeing that yourself, that there's much more embrace of digital and social efforts at this point in a more remote fashion?
Absolutely, Chris. Actually, before I answer too, I want to ask you, are you going to be sharing the deck with us?
Yes.
Or do we need it? Okay, perfect. Great. Sorry, I missed
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
Great. Look forward to seeing that. Yes, the answer is yes. So we do a lot of, we had been doing a lot of face-to-face when we could, including trade shows. We've got a couple of big ones that we typically would go to and support. And for sure, because of COVID, everything's shut down. But I agree with these numbers. I think that, in fact, even for what we sell, which is a way to make outbound payments for insurance carriers, for hospitals, and so on, that their interest in digital has dramatically gone up. Before it was paper checks, now it's digital payments,
Right.
and luckily that's what we offer. So, so from a interaction, yes, and from the desire to do things more digitally, including what we provide, absolutely.
Yeah, great. And what about you, Tim? Since you're the head of sales there for your company, are you seeing the same? Is there more of a willingness to be meeting remotely versus having to make the drive and shake hands?
Definitely. See that in all elements of our business.
Right.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
Have done some Zoom meetings, and that was that customer down in Bedford that was essentially started out with Zoom meetings. To finalize it, there was a face-to-face at the company to go over some of the logistics, but preliminary work was done on Zoom.
Right, exactly. Yep. Which can also make you as a salesperson actually far more efficient, right? You might be losing some relationship building and maybe some conversion, but what I found at least is, you can now potentially be twice as productive in your day because you're not nearly as much in the car away from your office.
Right, right.
So, and we're going to share a tip with you in just a bit that talks all about how can we be thinking about selling remotely, right? There's platforms that are popping up everywhere that are helping salespeople right now try and build relationships without having to be in person. So we're going to share one of those platforms in just a minute. Okay, we'll keep going here. So from here, that's sort of macro with what's happening, sort of common sense, but it's good to see there's real data backing all of this. So now we're going to get into 7 or 8 tips for you that you can take a look at. Again, you're going to get this deck right through Kevin, so you don't have to worry about taking down notes. Okay, so we'll start with tip 1. I'll just keep going here, Rob, and maybe you take
Sure
the
thing.
next tip. But
Yep.
I'm thinking, I'm just curious, is LinkedIn being leveraged, Bill or Tim, at this point for your outreach efforts? I'm just curious because I want to talk to the audience, right? So are you doing anything, Bill, on LinkedIn right now with your efforts?
We do. We actually post on LinkedIn. We just purchased Sales Navigator a couple months ago. So early forays into it. What you're going to show is probably going to be eye-opening and intriguing for me. So looking forward to seeing it.
Good. And what about you, Tim and Dan? Any Sales Navigator that you're using right now on LinkedIn, or are you just posting to your company profile?
I've not used Sales Navigator. We do some posting for different elements of our business. The other thing I've used LinkedIn for is really researching titles and personnel within
Sure.
companies, but I used it, not used the Sales Navigator.
Got it. So Rob, do you want to take this then, right? Because I know you've been in the trenches with Sales Navigator a bit. Do you want to maybe give a few practical, tips as to what Sales Navigator really can be used for? Because again, some companies also have Sales Navigator, but they're sort of driving it like a Toyota Camry when they could be driving it like a Cadillac.
Yep, absolutely.
So maybe you can talk about basics of Sales Navigator and then maybe a little bit more sophisticated with what can be done with Sales Nav.
Yeah, absolutely. And 2, did want to call out, we have a couple other folks on the call as well. Steve, Dave, and Gareth. Didn't mean to leave you guys out. I think Chris has the visual set that you just see
Exactly.
5 tiles, but good to see everybody else as well.
Oh, good. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. You're right. I did not scroll to my right, so I'm leaving people out here. So I'm seeing it now. Sorry, guys.
Figured out what was going on there. I was like, wait, we want to make sure we call everybody else out as well. So we'll get as we go, we'll pop in and ask other folks, their experience around some of these slides. But in terms of Sales Navigator, I mean, a lot of these slides are going to be specific to marketing, right? But with Sales Navigator, this is very much a sales play, right? And from a lead perspective, this is one of the best platforms around for, researching potential prospects, just because, I mean, if you look at the size of the database, the number of people that have put all of the minute detail around what they, have done their entire career, but what they're currently doing as well, it has such specific information that you can find exactly the sort of decision maker that you're looking for in an organization. The trick is that with Sales Navigator, you're actually able to really get under the hood of what they have in their profile and find individuals that meet your exact specific requirements in terms of who you need to speak to at an organization in order to potentially make a sale. So, whether it has to do with their job title, their expertise, their years of experience, company size, the list really goes on and on and on. Any kind of information that you can think of around a company and an individual, it's within Sales Navigator, and it is, a searchable field where if you build out a profile that this is the ideal best case prospect I can ever find, it's going to put in front of you all the people that meet that criteria. So from a lead sourcing perspective, sure, you can subscribe to like the Zoom infos of the world to get, really large lists of people that look pretty good on paper. But from the LinkedIn end, for, it's under $100 a month, you can find all the best leads right there, because, the truth is, everybody keeps their LinkedIn profile as up to date as possible. And so, you know, wait a second, this is actually the person I need to get in front of, because look, they updated their profile a week ago, so I know. So anyway, from a sales perspective, if you're not using it, definitely, I mean, there's a free trial for this too. So get aboard, try it out, and just see the level of detail you can go into on an individual and a company level to, you know, discern these are the right companies and these are the right individuals at those companies.
Yeah, and Rob, I'll add one more point. And I know we need to go a little faster because we have a lot of tips, but I'll add one more quick point here, which is, in addition to, so I'll make it really practical for everybody, right? So how does TribalVision, we're a company, right? We're B2B. How are we using SalesNav, right? So we are putting in, for example, okay, every company in the New England market, right, that is between 5 and 50 million in sales, anyone that has a title in the C-suite or VP of sales, head of marketing, and maybe one other criteria. We then are able to then find a universe of, let's say, 3,500 companies that we can then start selling into. And the question becomes, well, what do you do with that 3,500? Is Tim Cook just going to be one-off, just starting to just outreach to one at a time out of those 3,500? Yeah, he can do that, and that's what a salesperson should do. But what we're doing is we can then be advertising through LinkedIn to just those 3,500 companies, or let's just say, if it's 2 people per company that we want to target, 7,000 individuals, where every time we come up with a new piece of marketing content, okay, we're going to make sure that we can get it in front of those 7,000 individuals. So if we have a new white paper that we just put up, or a new, case study, we're going to make sure that in addition to posting it on our corporate profile page, which, let's be clear, not many people are really going to come to your LinkedIn page, other than they're like really interested and are now like picking around to see if they want to work with you. If they're just cold leads, you're going to have to get in front of them. And so you can use Sales Navigator as a way to make sure you're only targeting the best of the best that you want to get in front of, and then use marketing content to make sure that you are getting into their newsfeed. And that's how LinkedIn makes money, right? LinkedIn is able to monetize you because they'll say, okay, they're not a connection of yours, but yeah, if you pay, we will make sure then that we'll allow you to get in their newsfeed, where if they click on you, then you're paying LinkedIn for that click. Okay, a lot of people are just using, our salespeople are just using SalesNav just to do one-off outreach. Okay, my point is, you can be, from that list that SalesNav gives you, you can be doing also marketing outreach, not just one-on-one sales outreach. And that's really where the magic happens. That's where the scale happens. Okay, because I think the best compliment that we get at TribalVision, frankly, is those targeted 3,500 companies that we always are in front of. They say, my God, you guys are everywhere. You must have a huge marketing budget. I see on LinkedIn all over the place. And by the way, we're also targeting them with our retargeting efforts. And we're also retargeting them where if they go onto Google and they search for something, we're able to appear first. We're putting together a multi-channel marketing campaign to be in front of those 3,500 hot prospects. That's really the takeaway. And Sales Navigator can at least help you narrow down that list, to Rob's point, versus just buying a list from like a Zoom info. Okay. Are there any comments to that before we push forward? Okay. All right. So with that, maybe you can just talk briefly, Rob, about LinkedIn a little bit with InMails as well, because I haven't mentioned InMails.
Right. And it's funny because we were just talking about hitting that, what was you said 3,500 prospects. Let's say in that 3,500 prospects, there's 10 that are, oh my God, if we could get in the door of this company, that's it. That's our ultimate goal, right? That's where InMails come in. In-mail message, you get with Sales Navigator, I believe it's 10 in-mail messages a month. So these are the cream of the crop, the best leads that you can find. You can send them a message directly from LinkedIn, straight to their LinkedIn inbox. And if you get messages in your LinkedIn inbox, you don't get a ton of them. So they get read. So take advantage. If you do have Sales Navigator, if you don't, and you sign up for it, take advantage of those 10 email messages. It's totally free. You have an allowance every month of 10. Like I said, it resets the following month. Make sure you use those to get in front of those top 10 prospects in your pipeline. And, you know, for everybody else, you can figure out what their email addresses are. But for those top prospects, definitely leverage the InMail.
Yeah, and just for what it's worth, InMail is, the last stat I saw, it's like 8 times more responsive than email. Makes sense, right? Because I maybe get 2 InMails a day. I get 200 emails a day.
And
So,
one of the for what it's worth, for everybody on the call, just know the reason for that is that LinkedIn actually throttles how many advertising InMail messages people get in a given month. So people really don't get that many messages, and that's why when they do get a communication from you, it's likely they're going to read it and reply.
Exactly. All right, we'll get to tip 2 here. So again, now that I've scrolled to my right with who I'm seeing, maybe I'll pick on Gareth for a second here. So quick question for Gareth. Gareth, do you have any type of automation at your company, like a HubSpot or an Active Campaign, or maybe you have something very basic like iContact? What is your email platform if you have one?
We just use SurveyMonkey for the likes of our newsletters.
Sure.
Okay.
We've got some automation on the LinkedIn side, something called AIBs that allows our sales guys to pre-populate those messages and push them out. But no, I suppose email automation.
Got it. Does anyone, Dave, I haven't asked you yet because I didn't see your face until a second ago. My fault. Do you have any email automation?
Well, congratulations to not having to see my face. No, to be honest with you, the reason I'm on this session is because we have been strictly B2Gov, but we're expanding the focus now to B2B, and we've had some inroads with some extremely large OEMs, but we're to get to the C-suite of companies like Siemens or GE. I've relied on my board of directors and personal contacts, and so no, it hasn't been an email or a call out or a click through. It's been a meeting at a country club.
Right, exactly.
We're trying to evolve away from that because we have a product suite now that we think is more the target market audience should be more focused on B2B. So now all of a sudden I care about all this, so now I'm listening to it.
Yeah, perfect. Dolores, does anyone, Dolores, do you have any type of platform in place for automation?
That's you, Steve, isn't it?
Oh, is Steve Dolores?
Yeah, I getting in here the first time I had to sign in, so she's the one Zoom that I have that signed in. So but Bill will elaborate a little more, but we do use HubSpot.
Okay.
Oh, awesome.
Been using them for a number of years. And
we love HubSpot. We use it for the email. We also use it for our blog. We also use it. We have a online chat component that I'm able to respond to quickly. There's a lot of cool features with HubSpot.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just know that for what it's worth, again, in our at least 10 years of doing this, and Rob would know even more than I, because again, I told you he's in the trenches with clients. Rob, would you agree that maybe 90% of clients that start with us that are using HubSpot are driving it like a Toyota Camry and not like a Jaguar?
Yeah, not like the Jaguar. It really is. No, that's absolutely it. I mean, and largely it's because the way the HubSpot platform is set up, there's just bells and whistles that are hidden. So you really have to dive in and just find out, like, wait, because I mean the list of just free, if you go onto HubSpot, look at the free tools that they have, that list is a mile long. But then, once you have a subscription, there's 1,000 other things. I mean, you bring up the chat feature, you can, and it comes with the actually it's with any one of the sales hubs. If you need a meeting scheduler, that's an available feature. I mean, basically HubSpot has just been looking at what are other companies putting out in terms of marketing resources, and then they just bolt that onto the platform. So it's very, very much the case.
Yeah, and just high level again, right? So what is automation? I mean, at the end of the day, it's you want to make sure that you have some type of technology, some type of platform where there can be, as Bill said, these drip email marketing campaigns that are going out. Typically, they are not cold prospecting because HubSpot's not going to allow you to do that, right? You need to have an email address that's opted in. So it's really your house list that you can then put in, and then you can be, and even if it's just someone that's a prospect, you can then be making sure that you're setting up these drip sequences, they're called, so that, you know, once a week or whatever you decide, they could be getting some type of information from you. And it's so much more than that, but just simply, you want to make sure that in order to, again, the keyword is scale, just like Sales Navigator scale, HubSpot or Active Campaign. This is helping you scale your marketing activities so that one individual can actually feel like they're like an army, right? Because I'd rather have someone that's frankly a marketer with automation versus a really good salesperson, because that good salesperson is only going to be able to uncover and be in front of so many contacts at once. With HubSpot, you can be visible to thousands, which is huge. So, and the reason we put Active Campaign on the right also, just know that some companies say, you know what, HubSpot's too expensive. It can be from $500 to $2,500 a month, depending on what, if you decide to go beyond just their free tools, as Rob said. With some smaller companies, Active Campaign, which is what TribalVision has used up until recently, and now we're on HubSpot, but in our earlier days, Active Campaign was just fine. We didn't need the Cadillac. The Camry was just fine for the first couple of years. It's an all-in-one, you know, content management CRM solution, where it's sort of a lead comes in, it goes right into your CRM. You can be doing drip email marketing directly from that, you know, from their platform, and it's a fifth of the cost. So again, if you're interested, we can talk further about it. But bottom line is, again, back to high level, right? Post-COVID, you want to be thinking about marketing automation so that your digital footprint is where it needs to be. Okay. All right, I'll go to next tip. Tip 3, is anyone doing paid search at all? Steve, do you have any paid search campaigns that you've been doing, right? Meaning you're using Google to automatically be on the first page when someone searches for your product?
We did that years ago, and it worked for a little while, but I don't think we're doing it like that. Right, Bill?
That's correct. No, we're not doing paid search at this time.
Right. Is anyone, Gareth or you or Dave? Yep. Okay. So this is a tip here. So what you just said, Steve and Bill, we hear it all the time, where we have companies that we work with where they say, oh no, don't even look at paid search. It's never worked for us. It's not worth our money. And then we say, okay, just give us a second though. Let's take a harder look a little bit, because most times, again, if you don't have a really well-trained marketer, this is what they do for a living, is put together paid search campaigns. You're just scratching the surface, and you're not nearly as sophisticated as you need to be to play against the big guys, right? So a tip here with paid search is, low-hanging fruit is, instead of, if you do set up paid search campaigns with Google, it's all now about personalization. So when you want to make sure that you're segmenting your paid search campaigns to the verticals that you're selling into, because you might be selling into multiple verticals, or to different multiple product lines that you're selling. Instead of driving that person or that company to your homepage, where it's just a general homepage talking about everything, you want to be setting up specific landing pages for each of the keywords that you're trying to drive sales from. I'll give you an example to make it simple. Again, back to TribalVision. We're a full service digital marketing agency. Okay, so if Gareth is looking for, he's on Google right now, and he says paid search, because we're talking about paid search right now, right? So we'll say paid search marketing experts. If I just drive Gareth, when he clicks on that on Google, where is he going? If he just goes to our homepage, which is what typically happens, he's going to see that, what is he going to read about TribalVision? Not just that we're paid search experts, we're going to talk in more general terms. That's not what he's looking for. He's looking for a paid search specialist. So instead, we've built out specific landing pages for the word paid search marketing specialist, so that he'll then go to that page and all we talk about on that page is for what he's looking for. Okay, so here for this example, we're a Boston digital marketing agency. Guess what the keyword is that Gareth has put in? Boston Digital Marketing Agency. And now all of a sudden, oh, it's exactly what I'm looking for. So most oftentimes, paid search campaigns on Google fail because you're not being specific to what someone's looking for. That's number one. And number two is, if you notice on the right-hand side, there's a lead form with a very strong call to action immediately with the phone number or filling in basic information. We want to capture Gareth very quickly, right? So data tells us that, yeah, this is based on data, not just based on hunch, that you have like a 2 or 3 times greater chance of converting Gareth if you have that lead form and phone number right there. Okay, so again, tip here is if you are going to be doing digital campaigns such as paid search, you've got to make sure that you're trying to personalize it versus just drive them to some generic page. Rob, do you have anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, the one thing I will call out there too, for everybody that is in terms of, speaking to, has paid search worked for you in the past? Maybe it didn't. Know that at this point, the way Google has it set up in terms of paid PPC, pay-per-click advertising, is that if you point your paid search ads to a landing page like this that has the keyword that's included in the ad on it, they're actually going to rank you higher in the search results because they recognize, hey, this landing page totally aligns with what the ad says in it. This company actually offers what the ad says. We're going to rank them higher than somebody who doesn't. So just by building out these landing pages, you're going to get more clicks for your advertising dollars because Google's going to rank you higher in their search results. So anyway, just want to add that in there, as you're not only going to get better leads, you're also going to get more clicks too. So
yeah, well, that's a great point. Not to go on because I want to be respectful of time, but
exactly
what Rob is talking about, that's perfect though. What Rob is talking about is what's called a quality score. So a lot of companies think, okay, yeah, let me just get to the top of Google. How much do I have to pay to be #1 ranked? Let's just pretend it's $10 a click. Okay, well, if TribalVision is doing things right, and we're now doing what I just showed you and what Rob just talked about with specific targeted landing pages based on the keyword searched, we're going to have a higher quality score than the person that I just mentioned, the company that's paying $10. We're going to only have to pay $9 a click instead of $10, and we're going to be higher ranked than the company spending more than us. Why? Because Google wants a good experience for their user. Gareth isn't going to go back onto Google searching for something if he has a bad experience, right? Where is he going to go instead? Screw Google. I'm going to go onto Facebook and ask my network, or LinkedIn and ask my network who a good marketing firm is. Google didn't give me anything. They gave me some company that just gave me a landing page that wasn't relevant to me. So relevancy is very important nowadays. And so it's not just a bidding platform. Whoever's the highest bidder is going to win. That's no longer the case. Okay, Rob, do you want to take this one? So here's tip number 4, leverage all available ad placements. So we'll explain what Rob can explain what we mean by this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll try to be brief looking at the time here.
Yeah.
But really the key here is that if you're doing any kind of advertising on social networks, at this point, there are a variety of different ad units, ad sizes, so on and so forth. Along with all those different ad sizes, the platform uses, well, it's not just Facebook, any one of the social media platforms use their internal AI to figure out this is the best way to place this ad to drive results for you. So the best way to take advantage of the artificial intelligence that these platforms have in place is when you launch a campaign, put every kind of ad unit they have available, build it out and put it in the platform. The platform will figure out what the winner is for you, and then you can just turn off the ones that don't work. So if you have a marketing team that's trying out Facebook, Instagram, make sure they're using any available ad unit size, because honestly, it works to your advantage, because in the long run, the platform will figure out this is the style size, this is the size ad in the, the certain medium that drives the best results for this company. So this is what we're going to use going forward.
Yeah. And I'll just say one thing and we'll get to the next tip is you're probably all thinking right now, didn't we tell Chris and Rob we're B2B? No, we're not B2C. Why are we even talking about Facebook and Instagram right now? Right. Let's pretend like I'm a manufacturer, or right. Just know though that I don't know about you guys, right? I actually am on Facebook, right? Rob is on Facebook. There's many people that you're selling into that actually have Facebook accounts, and you're doing this on a thought leadership basis. So just think, remember I said that 3,500 companies again, I want to be everywhere with those 3,500 companies. Well, I'm going to start with LinkedIn. So yes, that is the platform of choice for B2B. But then from there, if I really want to get even more targeted, or have another layer of awareness, we can upload that list, if you can believe it, to Facebook. They can find whether or not that individual is on Facebook, and then we can retarget them with that same piece of content on Facebook. Okay, so just know that while it's not the platform of choice at first, once you get into the weeds a little bit and start building out these campaigns, Facebook and Instagram actually can be a role. It can just be for retargeting. We're going to talk about that in a minute with another tip, but don't zone out saying, oh God, all right, they're on Facebook, I don't need to hear about this. A lot of my learning as a business owner, if you can believe it, is on Facebook. McKinsey targets me on Facebook, right? Like thought leaders are on Facebook, just sharing their content. So that's how you can be on Facebook. Okay. All right, we'll get to the next. So if we talk to, yeah, this is probably my favorite tip out of all of them.
It's true.
It really is. So I'll let you take it, Rob, but we'll explain what we mean about lookalike lists. But again, there's just the context right now is how do we create a multi-prong awareness strategy with that 3,500 that we're talking about, where you're everywhere in front of them. And so this tip talks to that.
Yep. So with that 3,500 folks that Chris referenced, that's really well, there's two different components on this slide. You'll see under Google, Facebook, Instagram, we have lookalike and retargeting.
Oh, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
Instagram,
sorry.
but LinkedIn.
Yeah. Talking too fast there.
Yeah.
Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, there we are. But you see, we have lookalike and retargeting listed. So first I'll just speak about retargeting, because that's really, that's the low hanging fruit you absolutely want to be doing. In terms of retargeting, what that means is that, I mean, it's really simple to set up, right? If you push someone from an ad on, on one of these social platforms or on Google, or they just enter your website organically. When they enter your website, there's a piece of tracking code that you can have installed on your website. And then after they leave the website, they're going to see ads from your company when they're on Google, when they're on Facebook, if they're on Instagram, on LinkedIn, all with the this process of what we refer to as retargeting. It's basically just retargeting ads to former visitors that were on your website to keep your company top of mind until they get to the point where they're ready to make a conversion. Super, super powerful. On the flip side, there's this process called lookalike, feature called lookalike lists, which equally powerful as retargeting. Insofar as with a lookalike list, let's say you have, forget about the 3,500 folks for a second. Let's say you have 200 excellent customers. These are our ideal customers. They've been wonderful to work with. Can't sing their praises enough. And you know who those 200 people are. You can enter those into, and by enter them, I literally mean first and last name and email address. That's all you need to provide the platform. But you can provide that list to LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, and they'll actually, the platform will build out a lookalike list, that's what they refer to them as, that are individuals that are very, very, very similar to those ideal customers that you've already identified are the best customers you have. And then once you've got that lookalike list of people generated within the platform, you can then advertise to those people, knowing that these people are very, very similar to our best customers. So we know these are the sorts of individuals we would like to engage with as, you know, potential prospects. The great thing about this too is that lookalike and retargeting, these are really inexpensive campaigns, where if you're doing something like paid search, it can get expensive because you're paying for a click. In this case, lower cost, much lower cost for advertising. So even if you're not doing the pay-per-click advertising, definitely consider both of these avenues as a potential advertising option.
Yeah,
anything you wanted to add, Chris, here?
Yeah, just a reminder, you're not paying anything unless someone clicks on your link.
Yeah.
Or clicks on your ad, right? So it's also just increased awareness that you're out there. And also one other nugget is a lot of companies say, oh my God, it's so annoying when I'm retargeted. I don't want to dilute my brand. You can just know that you can pulse this. You don't have to be aggressive with it. Instead of like targeting someone every day, it could be once a week. It could be once every 2 weeks, whatever you feel comfortable with on the spectrum of how aggressive or not aggressive you want to be. Okay, another tip here, geo-targeting. Anyone hear of geo-targeting before? And if so, have you ever used it? So no from Gareth, Tim and Dan, no. Steve? Steve, it seems like a no. Dave? Okay. So Rob, you're on a roll here. Why don't you talk about geo-targeting, and I can be sort of your color guy here.
Yeah, absolutely. So with geo-targeting ads, this is, and actually this is one of the ad units that can get a little creepy. I'm not gonna lie, but with geo-targeting, what you can basically do is set a geographical parameter around a space that you want to advertise in. So let's say there's a concert in the Boston Common, and you want to advertise to anybody that's in Boston Common that day. You can build a fence. That's why it's called a geo fence. You can build a geo fence, digital fence around the park, and then you can display your ad in front of anybody that's in the park on that specific day.
Or a trade show.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The really neat thing here to do is trade shows and events, because you can not only just target like a specific, like let's say, you know, a specific convention hall. You don't just have to target the convention hall. You can target a specific room in the convention hall. If you want to target a certain floor in a skyscraper in, you know, downtown Boston, you can do that as well. Honestly, yeah. The options are endless with geo-targeting, but the thing that's so great about it is that it's going to put your ad in front of a person when they are in that geographical area on their smart device. And then after they leave the area, they're cookied for 60 days. So you can continue to advertise to them after they leave that area.
Is that Google based?
Actually, so Google does offer this, as well as there are a number of other geofence providers, okay. Which if you're interested, we can definitely recommend a few different resources that we use for it.
Yeah.
Rob, most common, the target or the recipient of your message, how are they receiving it?
So it's going to appear in, this is why it's kind of wild. It's going to appear in just like you would see any kind of other ad if you're on, say, Google or, you know, any kind of publication that has ad space in it. It's going to pop up just like an ad would that you'd experience on your phone otherwise. It's just,
or even an app, right, Rob? Even apps that you
exactly.
have open.
Within an app, so on and so forth. The thing that's super fun is that it's going to appear because they were in that specific space that you want to advertise in.
Yep. So it can be very powerful. I mean, it's just sort of the cutting edge of what's going on in marketing right now. We're working with a company that is trying to drive foot traffic to one of their shingle products in Home Depot locations where they're in a regional territory for Home Depot, and we're literally able to then target neighborhoods around that Home Depot with their product for them to be going on. And we can track it to know with reporting, with geofencing reporting available through third-party vendors, where we'll be able to show that company, this is the foot traffic that went into Home Depot and actually purchased that shingle from the geo-targeting fence and these zip codes, or even down to just the neighborhood.
And just to add to that, for a little extra flavor, to give you guys an idea of how specific you can get with this, we actually revamped those campaigns, and now we're actually running a campaign for the same company where we're targeting other shingle related aisles in Home Depots, but not the aisle that their shingle is in. So we're driving people from one aisle over to another, and it works. So it's really neat stuff. And to Chris's point, it's cutting edge as marketing gets today.
Yeah, I know we're over, but there's one other sort of fun application. We're working with a company right now. Think it's not Supercuts, but if you know Supercuts hair salons, right? So imagine a hair salon franchise where they're like, you know what? Yeah, I want to go after Supercuts. So anytime Gareth is leaving his Supercuts with his haircut just being cut, he's then going to get something on his phone, right, to say, hey, you know what? For your next haircut, it's 10% off if you go to Fantastic Sam's, if you go to wherever, right? And we can target while you're still in that Supercuts. So anyways, that's what's going on here with geofencing. This is the last
quick question on the geofencing. How like the example you just gave, you know where Supercuts is, their location's not going to change, right? So you've got that coordinate already locked in, but would you have the ability to say an event just happened to someone somewhere, and as long as we know that event that happened to them, we can ping them with our message? Is that a capability?
As long as we know the geographic location of that event. Right. Yes.
Mm-hmm. The only catch is that the individual has to be there. That's the only catch. Is
they have to be within the geofence. Yeah, the geo coordinate.
But that's what makes it so powerful, is once they enter that area, they're going to get hit with the advertising.
Yeah.
So you can imagine like why this is like earth shattering for brick and mortar locations, right? Because now it's like you're targeting competitors that are across the street saying, hey, leave there. We've got 10% off if you come across the street. And believe it or not, people take the bait every time. It's wild stuff.
And it can also be B2B, right? So we've worked with a publishing company that's very well known that is selling their leadership content directly to Apple, Google, Amazon executives. So we're putting a fence around those Apple, Google, Amazon campuses and just targeting those business campuses, all the way down to, like Rob said, we don't need to target the whole campus. We don't need to target the factory workers. We need to target the executives. We know the floors that the executives are on in that campus. So anyways, I know we're going over here. I'll be very quick with this last tip. Again, this is sort of a fun one too. Remember I said earlier on, back to the stats that I had shown about sales enablement platforms. So you're not just shaking hands and kissing babies today, but you're actually building relationships like we are here through Zoom. You can do with your own sales efforts. So you can see here, right? An effective sales enablement delivers your sales team the right assets in the right place at the right time to best engage your buyer. There are platforms now, and I think I'm just going to skip to, because I'm going to give you guys this deck right through Kevin, but I'm going to just go right to this, right? Which is, and we actually are using this right now for our own sales efforts at TribalVision. So again, we're practicing what we preach here, where this is a company called Client Point. So take a quick look at Client Point when you have time. There's others out there, not just Client Point. No, we don't make any money if we refer Client Point. This is just something we're super excited about, where let's just say, for example, for fun, Bill says, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm interested in learning more and working with you guys. Can we set up a time to talk separate from this? Sure, Bill. Let me give you a link here. I'm going to give you a link. You put in your email address. And then guess what? You're going to pop into this portal where you see this on my screen right now. And there's going to actually be a video of TribalVision here. And then look at on my right-hand side here, right? These are all folders that I've customized for Bill, where There's going to be learning about TribalVision in our deck. There's going to be our video for you guys, right? There's a mass training grant overview deck, right? There's on and on and on, everything custom to Bill or to Bill's vertical. And so there's now an environment, a sales environment that's been created where I can have one-on-one conversation through this branded portal where if Bill says, yeah, Chris, you know what? Thanks for talking to me. Can I have an example of a case study? Oh, sure. Here, you see our case studies over here? Click on this folder over here, and we'll give you, here are 3 case studies that you can read. And here's an example of a reporting dashboard. Click on this folder, Bill, whenever you want, because you have your email address to get into our portal, and you can see our entire library for you to better understand who we are to make an informed decision. Those are sales enablement platforms that are now popping up all over the place to be able to sell remotely. Okay, so again, right, a lot of salespeople don't know this. They're still just sending the email, following up impersonally with no video, nothing, right? It's, you know, to get to the next level with sales, you need to start thinking about these type of sales enablement platforms. And it's not expensive, right? We're talking in a year, for a year, maybe, I mean, it's not free either, right? But it's about $5,000 a year. Okay. So with that, I'm thinking I'll be very, very fast. Kevin, do we even have time to talk about the grants, or do you want me to just give a 30-second overview of them and we can send the deck out? It's up to you guys with your time.
Absolutely take the temperature here. I know that my regular cohort guys are here for another half an hour anyways. You know, we're going to switch to our regular meeting. So by all means, anybody that wants to hang out, go for it, Chris.
Okay, and I'll be fast, right? So again, you're going to get all these slides, so I'm going to give you the big beats, right, of these grants. But just know I mentioned early on, right? So hopefully you got something out of those 7 tips, right? Say, okay, if nothing else, eye-opening, there's something practical here, worth your time. In terms of the grants, hopefully it might be worth your time also, right? Because with these grants, just recently, as late as July 1st, so last month, what used to be 50% reimbursable grants, the state has now made 100% reimbursable. So big picture, just know that, and again, I won't go over every line item here, as long as you're fewer than 100 employees, which I'm assuming you are, you're located in Massachusetts, and you pay payroll taxes, because again, you're gonna have to show proof that you've paid your taxes in Massachusetts, also through a certificate of good standing that you can easily get. As long as you have that, then you are eligible for these training grants. Okay, and so what is a training grant, right? At the end of the day, we've put together 4 modules. TribalVision has 4 modules. It starts with the strategy. So that's what's called strategic marketing planning. So we'd build you a marketing strategy in month 1. Each module counts as a month of our work. And then there's 3 months of implementation here, where the strategy is only so good as you have to implement it. So in those following 3 months, we would stand up what's needed implementation wise for the strategy. These all fall under an express training grant with the state. Why? Well, so just to be clear, it's not classroom training, because you guys are all going to say, I don't need classroom training. I need doers, right? I don't have a marketing team, right? So we would be doing the work as your team and training you as we go. So we check the box of being able to show that Dave says, yep, I've been fully trained. A couple other people on my team have been trained on how to put together a marketing strategy. We've done the marketing strategy, here it is, but we've also trained you in the process. So just to be clear, it's doing and training. It's not just training. Okay, to be clear. Okay, and so as long as you start with the strategy module, then the implementation modules, they all are flexible to what we feel like you need to do in the strategy. So you don't want to skip right to implementation, because then we have to be very rigid with what we train you on. But we've written in each of the implementation modules that the modules will can change subject to what the strategy dictates. So as long as you start with the strategy, there's flexibility in what implementation is going to be. Okay, any questions? Right, so and one question you'll have, I'll answer right now, is, it was on the prior slide, is it's limited to $30,000 reimbursement per calendar year. So the way that these modules have been set up, right? And again, I won't go through the weeds of all these modules because like I said, these modules are flexible based on the strategy, right? But ultimately, just know that each of the modules, there's a price point to them. So I'll give you a quick example. Module 1 for the strategy is $15,000. Module 2, which is implementation module 1, is $11,200. You add those two up, that's $26,200. That's less than the $30,000 ceiling that the state has set. So what companies we're working with are doing is they're saying, okay, let's apply for modules 1 and 2, the strategy and first month of implementation in 2021. Takes about 30 days for approval. So if you apply now, you'll be set up so that November, December, you do the first 2 modules. It's under the 30,000 ceiling. You get reimbursed for those. And then you do modules 3 and 4 in January and February of 2022. Those last 2 total 22,400, which is less than the 30,000 limit per calendar year. And you'll then be able to get, it ends up being $46,800. I think it's either that or $48,600 fully reimbursed by the state. So that's what companies we're working with are doing. They're doing 2 in 2021 to stay under the limit and 2 in 2022. Okay, here's the timeline, right? You pick a course. We have a grant administrator that walks companies through this. It's very simple. The grant approval process takes about 3 to 4 weeks. You accept it, and then from there we get started. And the 16 to 20 weeks, right, is because, again, there are 4 modules. Each module is a month, so that should be about 16 weeks, 4 months. Reimbursement, so you pay, and then within 30 days, 3 to 4 weeks, the state, as long as you show proof that you've paid for the training, the state reimburses you in full for that. Knock on wood, so far, there's never been an issue. We've done this for a couple of years. It's just never been 100% reimbursable up until July. Okay, so when I mentioned this to Kevin, he's like, yeah, this might be something that the people here in the group would want to hear about. Most companies don't even know this exists. Here's an FAQ I won't go over with you, right? But just know there's a lot of questions you might have. It's probably going to be answered in sort of this FAQ. And that's it. In terms of next steps, right? It's very simple, right? What course would you want to be applying for? Like I said, if you want to maximize the grant, you should do modules 1 and 2 for this year. From there, I would assign a grant administrator who can walk you through this. You need to get a certificate of good standing with the state. It takes a few days if you don't have one. And then I would introduce you to, her name is Ruth, to apply for these actual modules. So that's how this would work if you are interested. I'm not strong arming anyone. Usually it's sort of a no-brainer, frankly, when people hear it's 100% reimbursable and there's no like fine print to it, frankly. The one piece of fine print I would say is you need to have 5 people trained for the first module because it's $3,000 per employee trained. So remember I said the first module is $15,000. You would need to show that 5 people have been trained. So if there's a glitch, it would be that for you guys. And if for the implementation, that's at $11,200. That means what? You need 4 employees saying that they've been trained. It's not classroom training. They have to sign off that they've been trained on this so that we can submit this to the state. I'll stop there. I went fast, but I hope that since you're going to get this deck, you can absorb it even more, but I'm hoping that that all makes sense to everybody. Are there questions?
No.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Chris, and
yeah,
it was
it's
nice
great.
to meet everybody. Chris, thank you so much. Very, very informational. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, Dave. Sorry I didn't see you in the beginning.
It's okay. All right.
Bill or Tim or Dan, do you guys have any questions? Steve?
No, it was a great presentation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And yeah, just want to thank Kevin again. Thank you, Kevin, for giving us the platform to hopefully give some practical tips and also share this type of training grant information. So Kevin already has this presentation, so I'll just assume Kevin will disseminate this. And if you're interested, just let us know and we can go from there.
Thank you very much, Chris and Rob. That was great. I've seen your presentations before, but it's nice that, you know, every time it's something new, you know, some of the latest and greatest. So appreciate you, you know, taking advantage of the platform to, you know, get in front of some of these other folks and spread the good word. So we can have some follow up here, and I'll double back with you, and we'll figure out, you know, how to get this deck in front of people, et cetera.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks again, everyone. We'll leave now, and I'll assume you guys will all stay on. All right.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you again.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.